I've sought leaders who could offer both sound judgment and fresh thinking, both a depth of experience and a wealth of bold new ideas, and most of all, who share my fundamental belief that we cannot have a thriving Wall Street without a thriving Main Street.
So Barack Obama made it official today that the people you've been hearing about for several days now, who are to be the head players on his economic team, are indeed who we said. Larry Summers will be the head of his Economic Policy Council in the White House. Tim Geithner, the current head of the New York Fed, will be the Treasury Secretary nominee. And Christina Romer will be the head of the Council of Economic Advisors in the White House. Some thoughts on all this now from Fred Barnes, executive editor of the Weekly Standard, Morton M. Kondracki, the executive editor of Roll Call, and the syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer, all are Fox News contributors. Well, he said their offer of depth of experience, which I think we would all probably agree is the case, a wealth of bold new ideas. Charles, really?
Well, Summers is known for a guy of bold ideas, often impolitic ideas, which is why I think having him in the White House is exactly the right place. He's a brilliant economist who often engages in thought experiments. I think that will actually appeal to the new president, who is intellectually active and curious and nimble. I think it's a great pairing, and it's good that on the outside, the face of the administration and Treasury will be Geithner, who's more of a public face, who is more presentable and more, I think, reassuring in public, less sort of brilliantly, eccentrically brilliant and audaciously so, as Summers is, to his own regret. As we know, at Harvard, he produced a thought experiment in the middle of a speech about the women's achievements, and it cost him his job. So I think it's an excellent team. Geithner, of course, is the shadow of Paulson. He's been involved in every action over the last 8 or 9 months. So this is essentially the ultimate in continuity, which is what I think is reassuring the markets.
Yeah, well, and you know, Obama also said today that he was going to get the best minds in America to work on these problems, and by everybody's acknowledgement, I think this is about as high an IQ group as you could possibly assemble, and they're basically centrist Democrats. I mean, Melody Barnes is the exception, who was named today. She's a liberal who used to work on Senator Kennedy's Judiciary Committee staff.
She was named to head the Domestic Policy Council, which is obviously important, but will not be the controlling influence on economic policy.
Yeah,
correct? He
sort of shoehorned in health care and as part of the solution to our economic problems. But fundamentally, it's this team that you've been talking about, and they are basically centrist Democrats. And they believe in Keynesianism, but they're also, as Geithner has been involved, as Charles said, in all of the stuff that Paulson's been doing, and maybe he can go beyond what Paulson's been doing. I assume that he will, into areas like mortgage, bolstering the mortgage market and so on, which the administration has been reluctant to do. Another thing they could possibly do is change the mark-to-market rule, which is causing a cascade of the value.
But the Treasury Department can't do that.
No, but then they should name an SEC chairman.
Okay, that's fine. Let's talk about the people they did name.
Yeah.
I thought they were pretty impressive. It's clear who's going to be in charge, and that's Larry Summers. He understood from having been in the Treasury Department that if you have a strong figure there in running the National Economic Council at the White House, that person will be much stronger than the Treasury Secretary. As it turned out, when Bob Rubin had that job, and Lloyd Benson was the Treasury Secretary, obviously Rubin was the guy, the biggest economic influence, and then went to Treasury, and Larry Summers succeeded him at Treasury. So Summers is going to be the big guy. Here's what I was struck about the whole press conference that Obama had today, and that is the sense of urgency on his part. All of a sudden, this urgency to name these guys and talk about what he's going to do. I went back and looked. There have been two other things where he's talked to the press. One was that press conference 3 days after the election, and then there was the 60 Minutes interview a week ago yesterday, and there wasn't that urgency there. Back in that press conference, he said, my transition team will be monitoring the economy. Today, he said, they'll be briefing me on a daily basis about what's going on. And the other thing that was interesting is he opened the door to not raise taxes on people over 250,000. It's a door that will be
immediately.
No, it's a door that well, in the next 2 years.
Right.
It will be a door that's very hard to close, particularly when he said in one of these interviews, I think it was the 60-minute one, that the deficit doesn't matter next year or even the year after. So I think he's going to wait for the Bush tax cuts to expire.
What do you think is the wellsprings of this urgency, Charles?
What happened in the market last week.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, Paulson appeared at Congress, and he said, I'm only going to spend half of the money, and I've already spent it, so I'm out of here. The market went nuts. The banks' stocks collapsed. In 2 days, the biggest drop in 2 days in the S&P since 1933, which was not a good year.
The percentage drop.
Exactly. And what happened then on Friday, you got a bit of urgency on the part of Obama. He named his secretary, at least it was leaked, which led to a rise in the market, and again today. What Obama has indicated is that he's going to be working with the Paulson team
Although he wouldn't
right now.
He wouldn't say that.
Yeah. But that's what's understood. That's
well, you got the bridge to the Paulson team and the person of Geithner.
They were following the FDR model. Remember, he said one president at a time. Well, there are two presidents now. I mean, he is clearly involved in this.
No. There's really only one de facto president, and he finally has accepted that it's Obama. He didn't use this excuse. Remember the one he used before? Right. Twice in that press conference, he said there's only one president at a time, and he meant Bush. He didn't say that again.